Welcome back. I am just Shawnee, and today we're going to be watching TikTok scary stories.
I have a lot of stories I can tell about this, but I'm going to start with when I was in seventh grade. I stopped being able to sleep in my bedroom because my closet and my bed would constantly make noise in the middle of the night and it would keep me up and scare me as well. I couldn't sleep with my back to my room. If I woke up with my back to the room, I had to flip around immediately and eventually got so bad that I couldn't sleep in there. So I started sleeping in my sister's room on a futon. This lasted for probably, oh, a good couple of months, I want to say, which is kind of embarrassing to say as like a 13-year-old, you're sleeping in your little sister's room because you're afraid of your own bedroom. But like I was afraid of my own bedroom. I wouldn't go in there without turning on the lights first. That door always had to be open. If the door was closed, I would literally make my mom or my dad open the door for me. So one night, I'm asleep on the futon in my sister's room, and middle of the night, and I am awoken and I shoot straight up out of my sleep and I sit up in a sitting position and I look above me and there is what appears to be a blonde woman. She was wearing blue jeans and she had a white t-shirt on with like a maybe a black jacket or like a dark gray jacket. It kind of looked like she was wearing a denim jacket, as weird as that sounds, but had blonde hair and had a lot of light emanating off of her, which was crazy. And she was in kind of like a Superman pose. You know how when Superman would take off from the ground and he had his one arm out and he's like, well, I'm going to do that. So it was like that pose, but facing the bedroom door. And this is the bedroom door of my sister's bedroom where I've been sleeping. And that opened up to the hallway where there was a night light. So you could see ambient light in the hallway, like if you had to go to the bathroom, et cetera, et cetera. So I notice there's no light in the hallway. I can't see anything past the door. And then as I'm waking up a little bit more, I can see in the doorway there is just kind of like this mass. Didn't look like a person. It just looked like a ball of energy, maybe about 4 feet tall. And it looked like, when you rub your eyes really hard when your eyes are closed and it looks like staticky and kind of negative space in your eyeballs? It looked exactly like that. Anyway, so my brain is making the connection from what I'm seeing floating above me, pointing towards the door, I now realize, at whatever scary mass thing is in the door. It was dark. I mean, I'm telling you, like, dark. And I started screaming. I didn't know what else to do. I started screaming and I pulled the blankets up to my face and I started screaming so loud, go away, go away, go away, go away. Screamed so loud, of course, that I wake my sister up. I'm in her room and woke my parents up, whose room was right next to my sister's room. They come in, flip the lights on, everything goes away, obviously. And then I look at the clock and it's like 4:17 in the morning that all of this happened. And I'm trying to explain to them what happened. I'm inconsolable. I am shaking. I'm terrified at what I saw. So I'm screaming. I cannot calm down. My parents are trying to calm me down. And then my dad is like trying to be rational about what I saw. Like it must have been headlights. There's no way headlights shined in through our backyard into my sister's room to reflect on the ceiling. That car would have had to have been in our backyard. He never liked me to talk about this stuff under the guise of I'm going to scare my sister, but I realize it's probably because I was scaring him. He was very superstitious Irishman. God rest his soul. Anyway, so that stuck with me for months. And after that happened, I stopped being able to sleep with the lights off. I had to sleep with the lights on for, I want to say, maybe a couple of weeks. And finally, my parents like tough loved me into going back into my own bedroom. And I stopped being able to sleep when that happened. I would fall asleep and be awoken to what felt like someone kicking the bed frame. Like, you walk by, you kick the bed frame with your toe, but like doing it in a rhythm. And it would wake me up and it would go on for hours. So I started sleeping in the living room. I really couldn't go in my bedroom anymore for the longest time. Somewhere down the line, My mom said that the bed I had in that bedroom, they had gotten secondhand from a senior living facility. Um, she told me that as an adult. So then I kind of figured out it was the bed that was kind of the catalyst for all of that. Um, and then in 8th grade, I got a new bed. And so that old bed got taken out and never had a problem again in the house. It wasn't until my mid-20s when I went to go see a psychic. Yeah, I'm cool. Went to go see a psychic because I've always had experiences and felt pretty in tune, if you will, to other energy that you can't really see. And went to the psychic. And before anything, she told me about my spirit guide, who was a woman with blonde hair, who came around quite a bit, especially when I was younger. Hasn't come around so much in my 20s or 30s. In fact, I haven't seen her since that experience. But the psychic also told me why she was there that night. And whatever other energy that was in the doorway was not a spirit, it wasn't a ghost. It was from some other plane of existence, of energy, but not good energy, if you catch my drift.
That's like the woman in the other video with the it spider. It wasn't from this dimension. And what is like we learned about Goodwill and getting stuff from secondhand places. Our nursing home parents, let's just talk about that. You got something from a nursing home. The final destination before the final destination. The pit stop before the final destination, honey, you can't even imagine like how many people have slept in that bed and gone on to glory in that bed, because they just rotate them out, honey. Your parents was setting you up, hun. I've gotten one thing from a Goodwill that I probably shouldn't have got from a Goodwill. I'm admitting it, but I haven't had any bad experiences or anything with it. I bought, because I was looking for a mirror, like the mirror in my corner right now, but it's a ceiling, floor to ceiling mirror. And back in the day, I don't know how much they are now, but back in the day they was expensive because it was just becoming popular. People were like, oh, I want one of those mirrors, so I got one of those. I was looking for one and I found one at Goodwill one day, and I was just like, oh, it's meant to be. It was like $20, and it was a big one. It was nice. You could tell it was antique. It was like the mirror was, how when it's old they have that paper in the back. That's how a painting is like a little elderly. So it was one of those, and I bought it, and it's actually in that next room. So actually in the office right now, and I bought it. And now that I'm older and more in tune with what's going on, and hearing these stories about people, probably shouldn't have bought it, but I haven't had any bad experience, thank goodness. I've just heard, I don't know if y'all been watching Noah Calls from Beyond, but I've been tuning in. They've been on it. They just posted one, I think today, yesterday. I know, but they've been on it. I don't know if it's whatever, they've been on it. But she was talking about how you can lock your mirrors because they could be portals, and I was just like, I might need to do that. But I'm covered by God. We good. But yeah, Fred, we can't be getting old stuff from Goodwill, or especially nursing homes. I'm glad you had a guardian angel, because what in the world, that guardian angel was from the early 2000s, honeys, the late 90s. The way they was dressed, honey, they was getting ready for a Walmart family photo shoot, honey. Y'all remember those from back in the day? You would get y'all, your family get matching the blue jeans and the white shirt just to take a picture at Walmart because it was free. The first one was free, the first set. So you was like, okay, advertisement special, whatever. Yeah, Fred. Yeah. Glad you have a guardian angel or a spirit guide. I'm glad you got a new bed. Cause it's like, oh, so surprising that it all stopped once you got a new bed. Like your parents was playing games, talking about you didn't sleep in your room. No, I done told you what was going on. I'm not going back in there. Like, what are we doing? Be serious. But yeah, friend, I'm glad you're safe.
I had the same dream at least once a week for 4 years. To understand the dream, you have to understand the layout of the house and a little bit of what I was going through at the time. Before we moved into this house, I had been living with my grandparents for the last year because my mom had been deployed to Iraq. I have always been bounced back and forth between my grandparents and my mom. My grandparents begged my mom for a long time, like, just let her live with us, because my mom was a single mom. She wasn't a very good mom. in my opinion. Our relationship has always been very strained. My mom was deployed when I was in 8th grade, so I was in middle school. My grandma got me and we sat down and had a very long talk. Because you can even see in pictures that for a middle schooler to look as if she does not want to be alive, to look this depressed and sad, like it was scary, and it scared my grandma. And she sat down with me and said, you know what, we're going to take this year and we're going to work really hard on your self-esteem, on your self-worth. Like, you're going to be a happier person. You deserve to be a happy person. My mom got back from her deployment and I was like a total 180, a totally different kid. I was actually smiling. I had friends. I was doing sports. I was doing band. Like, I was actually thriving. My mom got back from her deployment. She married my stepdad. They bought a house and she came to get me from my grandparents. My mom and my stepdad sat with my grandma and my papa and me and looked at my grandma and said, you ruined my daughter. And then my mom looked at me and said, I can't wait until you turn 18 so I can kick you out of the house and move on with my real family. My grandma begged my mom, why don't you just let Jessica live with us? You obviously don't want her. You never have. Let her live with us. Wasn't gonna happen. Don't know why. Anyways, I end up moving in with my mom and my stepdad at this new house. It's a 2-story house. Mine and my stepsister's rooms are in the bottom part, which there's my room, her room, and then a living room and a bathroom. I think it's important that you know where the rooms are. So my room, the closet, was right underneath the stairs, so I could hear anybody walking up and down the stairs. My stepsister's room faced out towards the living room and the side of the bathroom. My reoccurring dream I did not tell anyone about. One, because the household that I was living in, I knew I was not really wanted. I was just kind of there. And it wasn't really a nightmare. It didn't really scare me. It was honestly kind of comforting, but it wasn't really like that eventful to where I felt the need to share this dream with anyone else. What would happen in my dream is a very tall, skinny, sickly looking man would come from upstairs down to the downstairs area. Like I said, my room, the closet was right underneath the stairs, so I could hear people going up and down. And in my dream, it was like clockwork. Like, I'd hear the footsteps and I knew, like, oh, he's coming downstairs. So I would come and stand in the doorway of my room and watch this man walk downstairs over to the bathroom. He'd turn the lights on and off a few times. He would turn out of and like stand in the doorway of the bathroom and look at me. And then he would walk out the backyard and just kind of like disappear. There were no words exchanged. Like I said, this man looked very sickly. I remember him being very tall and wearing a long trench coat, and like I remember his fingers like vividly because the coat like hung off of him and it hit him like right about here on the fingers, and his fingers looked really skinny and bony and just scary, but I wasn't scared. I've always been very active in my sleep. My mom used to not let me sleep with her after I had a nightmare when I was a kid because she said that I would kick and punch and scream. I still talk in my sleep, and it seems like when I'm really, really stressed out and going through a lot of stuff, that's when I start sleepwalking. My stepsister said that a few times because she would sleep with her door open sometimes, and she said that I would get up in the middle of the night, go over to the bathroom, turn the lights on and off a few times, turn around and look at my bedroom door, and then just go back into bed and shut the door. And like, I didn't remember any of this. She would tell me this and she wasn't freaked out, but she was just like, that's kind of weird. Like, why do you sleepwalk and like play with light switches? I found it weird, but I didn't really think too much about it. I just chalked it up to coincidence, especially because like when I would live with my grandparents, they were very conservative Christian people. So we didn't really, the paranormal was not something that was discussed or given really any energy to. It wasn't until two of my friends, two people separate from each other. I was friends with one girl when I was a sophomore in high school and she was a senior, and the other girl I was friends with when I was a senior and she was a sophomore. These two girls never met each other, but they described my dream to me in its entirety. Both of them had told me that they were like sensitive to spiritual things. They didn't really talk about it a whole lot though. Like, they never like owned like Ouija boards or like tried to communicate with spirits. They just said like, yeah, I've seen some stuff, and just kind of left it at that. But both of them had spent the night at my house, and both of them described the exact route that the man walked through in the basement. Both of them said that they weren't threatened or scared either. They were a little like creeped out, but they weren't threatened. And one of them, the first girl that saw it, she said, I think he's here to watch after you. My boyfriend still to this day likes to make the joke that something is attached to me, is following me, and I don't totally discount it. I've never personally seen anything, and I have not had that dream ever since I turned 18 and moved away from my mom and that house. But things do still kind of happen. Like, pictures will come off the wall, and it's weird because I used like the wall hooks, so they can't just like come off. You'd have to pick them up, and they have to come up and out. And that kind of, I can find reasons why that might happen, like rational reasons, but the one thing that I can't explain away that I still get every once in a while is breathing. I hear breathing every once in a while I'm sleeping in my bedroom, no matter what bed. This has happened at a few different bedrooms, but my cat hears it. My cat Lily, she always sleeps on my chest or on my side, and I'll hear it's the same thing. It's like a sigh, and I always look at my cat and like her ears go back. She doesn't like try and attack anything, but she looks in the exact same spot that I hear the breathing. again, I don't ever feel scared. I don't ever feel threatened. It is kind of almost like a comforting thing. I don't really talk to it. I've never seen anything. I have not had any like weird recurring dreams ever since my time in high school. But yeah, that's my story.
Wow. Yeah, these guardian angels, honey. These spirit guides, these people who are protecting us. That's the first one that you saw, old man, and it wasn't creepy. Well, his figures was creepy, but it wasn't what we usually be hearing, like, That's really interesting that while you were sleepwalking, you did the exact things that the man was doing in your dream. Like, wow, maybe that was you. Like, maybe he was using you to do his actions, or maybe you was self-consciously doing his actions that you were seeing in your dream and you was just doing it. Yeah, I don't know, but that's crazy, friend. It's crazy what your mom said out the side of her neck, though. I don't know. If I was you, I don't know. I think I would have, because at that age I knew about, was it CPS? Yeah, CPS. I knew about CPS, not because of anything bad, anything. Nobody was abusing me or anything. But like I said, you probably heard once before in my other videos, I was a clumsy kid. So I always had bruises. Like right now, I have a freaking bruise on my leg. It's just ridiculous. I can't even show you. It's red. It's like blood red, like the bruises I have right now on my leg. So I was very clumsy, and my teachers were very, concerned, and they called CPS and everything. So yeah, I would have done that as a little child. Like, no, I want to live with my grandparents, basically, and I would have got it together. But I hope your parents didn't, your mom didn't do anything. But I'm glad you're protected, because that's wild. Like, what? Your friend saw it? Your friend's like, oh, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I saw, and then it matched up with your dreams. Absolutely crazy. I feel like as a child, she was absolutely adorable. Like she's cute now, she's adorable now. So imagine her, a little mini of her. Oh my goodness. So how, seeing that little adorable little girl, how could you be like, I don't want you? You know what I'm saying? I don't get it, but whatever. I'm glad kudos, big ups to her grandma for noticing, like, hey, this baby is depressed. We need to do something about it, and taking action. Like, that should happen more. When you see a kid and they're sad and their demeanor, you need to do everything you can, take the extra steps to be an impact to them, change that, be a light to them, get them out of that funk, get them I'm getting too hyped, I'm getting too passionate about this, but take those steps to help them, get them help, speak a light into them, help their self-esteem. Like, you got the tools, you're an adult, you've been through this. They're new to this world, so help them, bruh. Loving her grandma, loving her grandparents. But yeah, friend, stay safe, because wow.
Okay, perfect, because I have one, and it's actually like a really good story, and it's a story that I honestly don't even think I've told anybody. But when I was 16, I lived literally in the middle of BF nowhere. I was in Texas, and I got a bicycle for my 16th birthday, and I was super excited because that meant I basically had like my freedom. So I would just ride around on my bicycle, and since I was in the middle of nowhere, like, it was just like a bunch of like dirt roads, and you would end up in like the back of people's properties, and like it was like rural, like nobody really cared what you were doing out there. So I realized if I went about like half an hour ride on my bicycle, I would get to the edge of this person's property, and in the back of their property they actually had a graveyard, and it was a really old graveyard. A lot of the tombstones were listed from like really late 1800s to like early 1900s, like 1903. Like, they're really old, and it was so obvious that nobody kept up with the graveyard. Like, everything was dirty and overgrown. And of course, like, I thought I was like 16 and edgy and cool, so I'd go hang out in the graveyard. But then eventually I started going there maybe like once or twice a week, and I started cleaning things up just because I felt bad about these people who were obviously like forgotten about. And I remember there was these 2 headstones that I was specifically attracted to, and I'm assuming the woman died like in childbirth, or like her and her kid must have gotten ill around the same time. But it was like a woman, and she, from like her birth date to like her death date, was literally around like the same age as I am, like right now. And I was just like, so it's such a shame that she, died so young, and then like her baby's tombstone was like right next to her. Well, I would just go and I would like clean everything up. Well, this one day I honestly, and I'm not someone who really I believe in the paranormal just because I've seen a couple of things that I can't explain, but I do feel like a lot of paranormal things aren't actually real and it's just people making shit up. But like this actually happened. And I went to the graveyard that day. Up until then, I had never felt anything creepy. I never felt weird. Everything was always really chill. And I was over at their tombstones, like just cleaning everything up, pulling some weeds. And mind you, it was a completely still day. Like there was no wind. It was the middle of the summer. It's hot outside. There was literally no wind. And I'm sitting there and I'm like cleaning things up and I get the strongest smell of perfume. Like I'm talking, it suddenly smelled like I was standing in the middle of like a field of flowers. Like it was just like super strong. And I felt not like dread. I don't think dread is the right word, but I felt like this overwhelming feeling of like, you need to leave. Like you need to get out of here. And it was calm. It didn't feel threatening. I just felt like it was almost like an audible, like someone told me like, you need to leave. And I literally remember like, I didn't even think twice about it. I was like, I need to get out of here. And I literally like packed up all my little things. I always have like my little headphones. I didn't put my headphones in. I got on my bike and I pedaled my ass back home so fast. And like, I just remember having the feeling of like, you need to leave and you can't come back. And I left and literally like, that was it. Like I stopped going. I didn't go back there. I never felt threatened by whatever was out there, but I just felt like you can't go back like this. You need to not come back here. 2 weeks later, it was in the news that a woman who had been jogging along that same road that I rode my bike almost every single day was abducted and killed by somebody, and they never found out who. And to this day, I really feel like whether it was that woman whose headstone I was cleaning or somebody else in that graveyard who maybe just appreciated the fact that I cared about them, gave me that warning to leave and kept that from, you know, happening to me. So that's my story.
Bro, we've been going in on these guardian angels. They've been stepping. They've been holding down. Yo, I was just talking about that. What was that? The last video about the senses. Like I can smell my ancestors sometimes. I can smell their fragrance. Bruh, that was like, yo, blew my mind. Like this, you smelt it. It was just like, your spidey senses went off. It was just like, okay, tune into it. Tune into that frequency. Tune into it. What you saying to me? Like, oh, I can't come back here. I should leave. Like you protected me. Like I love that. I love that. I love that she was warned and she listened. That part. She was saved. I hate that it happened to that other person. Like that's really bad. But I'm glad you listened. Somebody was looking out for you. I'm pretty sure those spirits appreciated you taking care of their grave, making it nice, just caring. Like it was very much appreciated. I love that story. I love that, minus the person getting abducted part. That's not cool. But the fact that you went, did work, listened, love that. Subscribe.